Hey everybody, like you said, my name is Toni. I've been coming to Gravity for over a year now. Back in 91, I used to hang out at the Hell Road Apartments over here in Lodi, and a brother by the name of Anthony used to chase me down, and I used to run from him. Finally, I figured if I go to church with him, he would leave me alone. But that night, God had a plan, and I gave my life to Jesus. Fast forward 5 years later, between those 5 years, I got married and had a baby. One day, my husband at the time decided he no longer wanted Jesus, me, or the baby. And so I then became a single mom. I did the best as a single mom. But eventually I caved into the world. Instead of running to God, I ran to the world. I became a 24-hour partier, and that's all my life was. At the time, I had a job, a car, townhouse, everything. I lost everything within 6 months. One morning, after a night of hardcore partying, I found myself on the floor, and I woke up to my baby holding my arm, kind of like this, and he was holding on to me real tight, almost as if he's like, "Mama, I don't want to let you go." That same morning, I heard a knock on the door. It was really loud. My mom and my uncle and my sister came in, and they were just looking down at me like this as I was on the floor. And my uncle grabbed my baby, and I'll never forget it. It still echoes in my head. He said, "I'm taking your baby, and you're not going to get your baby back until you get your life right." And they turned around and they walked out. And I was so messed up, so hungover, that I could hear my baby crying for me. But I was so messed up that I couldn't even get up on the ground and go chase my baby. Now, you would have thought that I would have got it together, right? You would have thought I would have said, "You know what? I got to get my baby back. I got to change my life." But no, because this is how the devil is. The devil told me that my baby was better off without me. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. And in fact, if you're going through something like that, I just want to tell you right now, don't believe the lies of the devil. You get yourself together, let God do the work in you, and you get your babies back. A couple of months later, after I started selling dope for my dad right here down the street, and we got busted by the SWAT team, I decided it was time for me to get it together. I went into Norwalk, California, a women's home. It was a 6-month program. In that, while I was there at the program, I also found out I was pregnant with Jacob. I stayed there for 6 months. It was very hardcore. The fellowship that I was with at the time, they preached loyalty and serving. I did the best I could there for 6 months, came back and served 5 years, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. By the time I was 13 years into the Lord, I realized that this was changed. When I went into the home, this was changed, but this wasn't. I was bitter, broken, and messed up. I was very religious. I played the part of a Christian very well. You could give me the Academy Award for being a Christian. I knew all the lingo, the amens, the hallelujahs, the glories. But this was changed, but this wasn't. Finally, I cried out to God, and I said, "There has to be more. There has to be more, Lord." I started crying out to him. I developed a prayer life. At the time, they had a program called Push, Pray Until Something Happens. It's a women's prayer. It was for about an hour. I used to come an hour before prayer would even start just to pray for an hour because I was starting to feel desperate for more of God. I got my prayer language. I started feeling just more and more of God. One time I was on my knees and I was praying, and I can see this like vision of the city of Lodi, and I could hear the Spirit of the God say, "I'm sending you back to your city, to Lodi. I got to work for you over there." I went up to my leaders and the people from the church that I knew very well, and I said, "I know this sounds really crazy, but God spoke to me and told me that he's sending me back to the city of Lodi. I'm going to do a great work for him." They looked at me like I was crazy. In fact, one of them said, "Are you okay? Are you in sin? Are you all right?" But let me tell you, when God has a plan for you, man cannot stop what God has. But it's all up to us if we're going to take that step and do what God has called us to do. Again, I met with Brother Anthony, and he invited me to Gravity, and I walked through the church doors. And as I sat there, and God just started doing this thing in me in the next few weeks, the weeks that I was coming here, I knew what I had to do. And let me just tell you, let me just end it with this. This is my testimony. God can turn a mess into a message. And if you have a calling on your life, and if you say yes to the Lord, I guarantee you, God will move in your life, and he will unfold the plan and the purpose for your life. The last 4, 5, 6, 7 months has been the best time of my life. Yes, even serving the Lord all these years, it's only been about the last year that my spirit has came alive, and God has used me. I've done things for God that man would have said, you are not worthy, but in God's eyes, I am. So I just encourage you, if you got something in your heart that you want to do for the Lord, step out and let God do the rest. Amen.